talk about VAGRANT? Yes. Today we won't talk about VAGRANT? Yes. So a little bit weird, but I will explain you later. You will understand later what I mean. So I'm Federico. A little bit of context. I'm the CEO of a company called VAGRANT. I'm managing 8 people, 8 developers. And I'm a PHP developer right now with lots of years of experience, which doesn't mean I'm a great developer. It only means that I'm old, unluckily. And I'm also ops at VAGRANT. I mean that I'm responsible for all the technological choices of the company, and all the ops is done by me. And luckily, right now, also a colleague of mine is working with me on the operation part. She's Maya, she's my puppy, and she's working in VAGRANT since when I joined the company. Yeah, that's true. She's spreading all the love, her love all over the company. Every day is in office. What is VAGRANT? I don't want to bore you about that. This is the quotation from my CEO, so just read it. It's a super simple application in terms of what we do to the user. And then, obviously, after 5 years, the application itself is really complex. But I don't want to talk about this. First of all, let's make some question. Obviously, how many of you knows VAGRANT? Put your hands up. Right. How many of you don't use VAGRANT? Don't know what VAGRANT is? Okay. Okay, that's okay, luckily. Okay. I would like to start the talk with this quotation from a super smart guy who don't know Martin Fowler. Not really. You have to, have a look at his website because it's super, super cool. This is a quotation from a book that is more like one of my Bibles on the shelf in the office, which is Continuous Delivery from GrUSP, and this is the foreword from Martin Fowler. I love this sentence. Maybe this sentence explain why we are here right now. So this kind of delivery, the first part is not interesting, but this kind of delivery thinking as long being a forgotten kernel sort of developer, blah, 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 falling into a hole between developers and operation teams. He was talking about the old days when deployments and releasing production took ages, so months, years. The good part is the second part, so it's no surprise that the technique in this book rests upon bringing this team together. An harbinger of the nascent but growing DevOps movement. So we are here because we are part of this movement. I think to be part of that movement, that's not a subscription or a website, but I'm a developer, I'm considered to be a developer, and I need to be an ops, or I need to work together with ops. So the idea is to break the barriers between the ops and developers. I won't talk about that. These are the 2 books that inspired me to prepare this talk. This one is super, super, super interesting for Paul M. Duval, and the other one from GrUSP and Derek Thorley, Continuous Delivery and Continuous Integration. I used to read them a lot of time during the past 5 years because there are very interesting things inside of that books. So, what this talk is about? This talk is about development workstation. Yeah. I Googled a bit about development workstation. I found many super cool pictures, and I'm sharing to you this one and also this one. That's crazy. And I found that there are a lot of websites tweaking and talking about how to tweak your developer workstation. So I place some URLs. This link specifically is from Nick Raver. If you don't know him, he's a senior engineer in Stack Overflow, and he's maintaining a super interesting page, desktop build, because in Stack Overflow they're mad for bare metal. Even Stack Overflow is on bare metal, it's not on VMs. And they maintain this page, and on this page they talking about their developer workstation, but they're not buying a Mac. They're just building the workstation by themselves. So every single piece of their computer, of their workstation, is analyzed. They're testing them, and they decide from that which and how to build every couple of years the new development workstation. It's interesting, but okay. This talk is about development teams and development operation teams. This talk is about software development lifecycle. Yes. But it's true. What this talk, the most important one. This talk is about our experience with Vagrant. I love this video, but it's not, wow, why it's not playing? Okay. Boom. So this was not really our experience with Vagrant, but I love the video because it explained really well the idea about experience, so learn from your mistakes. This talk is not about ranting against Vagrant. So I love Vagrant. I used it for a lot of years, maybe not right now, but it's not a rant against Vagrant. This talk is not about Vagrant configuration, or better. It's not a one-on-one tutorial about how to set it up, virtual machines through Vagrant. It's not about provisioning. We will see Vagrant files, provisioning with Ansible or Puppet, but I won't teach you how to do that. It's not about Docker, Ansible, or Linux container, more or less. So let's begin. Okay. So the idea of the talk is about telling you a story, telling you about a journey we had in our company for the last 5 years. And it's not that kind of story that you can tell to your kids, but it's something that you have to share with your colleagues. So it's more or less the experience we had in developing our tool, our application, with the aid of Vagrant and the other tool. Okay, this is just a screenshot. VMware VirtualBox were the two types of virtual machines we use. I think if you are developers, probably you are using hypervisor type 2 VMs, and if you are hopes or both of them, you pretty well know what is a type 1 hypervisor. So developer usually work on this side. So the hypervisor type 2 is an hypervisor which builds VMs over an host operating system. What is Vagrant? Every one of you knows what Vagrant is. The only thing to say is that Vagrant, just a quick introduction, builds efficiently and help a lot to build efficiently virtual machines environments. From a dev's point of view, Vagrant assures dependency and configuration isolation. All the dependency and all the configuration files are isolated from the host OS. It's a single disposable environment, which means that everything is managed in a single place. And it's a consistent environment. Well, I can say that Vagrant assures the idempotency of your environment. So you can start and destroy your VMs times and times, and the results will be always the same. This is the interesting part, Ops point of view. So, Vagrant shows testing management infrastructure script of your consistent workflows. This is interesting because Vagrant is used to develop application. So it's usually on development workstation, but there's an idea that you have to keep as much similar as you can your development environment, your testing environment, your staging environment to the production. Okay, costs lots of money, but if you do that, you can test your infrastructure on development environment, testing environment, and then release that scripts on production because they work as the same way. So, okay, this is the first part of the talk about Vagrant, a quick one. Now, let's go to the 2013 when Federico was born 6 years ago, and I joined the company 5 years ago. So that was the situation when I first came in the company. So there was source code, but no source control repository. Files managed in a directory and gzipped as a backup. Cool. The second, no development environment. So what happened? I need to set up my Mac to make the application working. I didn't know how to do that, or better, I know that, but I knew that, but I used to develop in a lamp stack, so Linux, I need Linux. And I didn't want to set up my Mac to work as my development environment. So, what I had to do? On that time, I was the developer, the CTO, the ops, whatever you can think about, because I was just by myself from the technical point of view. So I can make a lot of choices on that. But before starting coding, I said to myself, no, I cannot do that. So I need to find a solution. Obviously, the solution, well, I need to find a solution, because otherwise I would have fallen like this guy. And not only me, also the application. So beware of that. These were all the questions I made to myself. Too many questions, okay? And I get really, really angry about that. Not with that muscles, but angry with like him, okay? So I implemented, obviously, a source control repository through Git, and I created a virtual machine just by myself, downloading it and using VirtualBox GUI. Okay. And I started doing this kind of stuff, and the virtual machine assures me the ability to have a black box of all my development environments. So joining a new developer allows me to give him a USB key and, hey, start developing. And then I implemented Vagrant. I already used Vagrant in my past job, and luckily, thankfully to Git, this is my first Vagrant file in Fastland. It's a little bit horrible. Let's have a look. Okay, we were using a precise, so Ubuntu 12.4, and I don't know why I forwarded port 80 to 8383. I don't know why I forwarded this port on itself, even the ones for Mongo. So many mistakes. The good thing is that we use just 1 gig of memory. It was not a lot. And I worked in my past job with a guy who was working with Puppet, and I spent with him a weekend, and we create a provisioning group of files to provision our environment. So just to give a little bit of context, the application at the beginning was a super simple application, PHP and MySQL, super easy, okay? So I need only to provision Nginx, PHP FastGGI, and MySQL. That was in 2013. And that was the situation of the application. Oh, so the application was a big monolith. Not really fat, but big monolith. If you understand, I love Simpson. And the story continues. So after a while, so after a year and a half, we developed a lot of new feature in the software, as expected from the business, no? What happened is that things changed, because we, have a look at this, we changed the version of the operating system, but we increased a little bit the RAM from 1 gigs to 8 gigs. Wow, what happened? So the monolith became really fat, super fat. We had a lot of things to manage and a lot of things to do, so the VMs explodes on that time. We had a lot of problems with that. And also we changed the provisioning. So we start using Ansible, because one of the developers that joined the company was already using Ansible, and so, okay, let's do with Ansible. And also have a look at the number of CPU of the cores, 4. So on that time, the monolith was really, really fat. We had a lot of problem in terms of stability of development environment, right? So what we first, and also a problem was PHP. I don't want to make a rant against PHP, but the problem is that PHP respects a paradigm like HTTP, request response. There's not a layer in the middle, like for example Java, which you can have persistence for the application. So there's not an application server. So what I have to do is that all the things the user did, the response was responsible for doing a lot of things. No? So it took ages. After 1 year and a half of development, the response was really low. It took too much, okay, more than a couple of seconds. For example, the subscription of the user. When the user subscribed, during the response, I need to send to him an email, okay? It's super simple. But I need to wait that my library connected to the SMTP server, send the email, get the response from the SMTP, and then get the response back. And the user was waiting for that. So the very first thing we did during 2015 was to create our first microservice. So we decoupled the application and from sending a SMTP, and we added an MQTT broker message, RabbitMQ. I don't know if you know it. And so every time we need to use SMTP or email, we send messages to Rabbit. And so the response will be a little bit faster. This was the first microservice, but it was still in the VM. So we still had a big VM, a big fat one VM working. We had a lot of problems. Also, to make things worse, is that Mac OS X is not managing really well file system. NFS is buggy on OS X. So we had a lot of problems. And so we reached 2016. In 2016, we changed a bit our VAGRANT file. We're still using Ansible, we're still using 4 CPU, but we decreased the number of RAM, 4 gigabytes, and we understood that we should use NFS. And it worked like, well, the way the way we developed became a real bit better, but we still had problems. We still had a lot of problems, so we need to find a solution. On that time, we make the monolith a little bit not so fat. We created some other microservices in order to send push notification, because we had also API and blah, blah, blah. And I think in 2016, we had 3 microservices. And we had a problem, because we had a super fat VMs on development workstation and 3 Docker containers that manages this kind of microservices in production. So absolutely different environments. That was the big problem, okay? And we started, on that time, studying and implementing Docker a bit. Consider that we were, on that time, 5, okay? The team was not really big. And we had too many things to do. That is not an excuse, but it was not easy. So, for example, this is a Google page about VAGRANT VirtualBox performances. 160,000 results. Yeah. A lot of people have problem with that kind of situation. This is this screenshot. I don't know where I found it, because it's from 2016. This is a bash script. This was our bumping script for tagging the release to production. And so what happened is that we had an input-out error. So we still had problems on VAGRANT, sorry, with the virtual machine and NFS. And this happened not daily, not weekly, but sometimes. It's not good. This was not a great error, because it's just creating a new release, a new branch, so no problem with that. But it was not a good thing. And so we reached where we are now. This is our current VAGRANT file, okay? So it changed a bit. Have a look at that. NFS is still there, but it's still buggy. Okay, we had 2 gigs of RAM, and we decreased the number of CPUs. We still have VAGRANT, and I don't know why we are doing some inline provisioning, but okay, it's fine. This is our current VAGRANT file. We're still using it in development. What we changed? Well, there are a lot of things to say about that. So we understand that that way of development with a big fat VMs was not the right choice, you know, for us. And that was not the thing that make us changing our tool. So the story is like this one. we decided that we did not decide to change our tool from Vagrant or to Docker or from virtual machines to Docker because Docker and microservices are the fashion right now. It's because we need to make the application to be faster than how it was in 2016 and 17. The problem we had is that we started with 0 users in 2013, and we scaled really fast during this last 5 years. And so our user base grew really fast, and we need to find a way to deliver our product in the best possible way we can. Just, okay, right now we are 8 people, no? So the idea is not that, this is the conclusion, but I will tell you again, it's not that it's the tool or a couple of tools or a couple of technology that drove your decision. It's the product. These are some problems. This is the aim I wrote this talk. I submit this talk on September because when Apple released the new operating system, NFS crashed totally. So it was not working. Vagrant, VMs, a mess. It was a really big problem. July 2017, September, on that day, I submitted the talk to Incontro DevOps. It should show 1,000 files, but in my case it shows 1,038 files, which means there's something wrong. And in December, the problem was not completely solved, and OS X is still buggy. But this is not why we choose to create more microservices, okay? To have microservices. This is more or less the story I told to you. So right now, we have Vagrant. We still have Vagrant. We're still using Vagrant, but Vagrant is only for development our public web pages that do some simple MySQL SQL queries and the blog. All the other, all the application has moved in a different and evolved in a different way. So we have right now an Angular stack behind consuming API and all the microservices, a lot of microservices through Docker container, okay? So we changed a lot. At the moment, we should maintain 2 stacks, but we are in the middle of a migration. We'll probably go to Docker completely. I don't know when, because we don't have time right now, but it's working right now. I placed some slides comparing Vagrant and Docker, but it doesn't make sense comparing Vagrant and Docker, just for knowledge. So we are here. This is the story. This is the story of the company. This is the journey I would like to tell you. And we learn a lot from this. Not only from a technical point of view. I was talking with a guy this morning, and he told me, "Oh, we had a problem. I'm a DevOps, I'm an Ops, but the problem is our company culture, because my managers didn't understand that we should do something." Okay, what does it mean, this? Okay, I will explain you later after this slide. The journey so far is ended, so we are in 2018, and all about Vagrant. It's not all about Vagrant, but Vagrant allows us to understand better our deployment pipeline. Vagrant or Docker or whatever you can think, it's a really important component of your deployment pipeline. So I'm just asking to you, what is a deployment pipeline? Any ideas? Someone that wants to answer? No? Okay. This is super. It is the process. It is the process for getting software from version control into the hand of user. Okay, thank you. It's super simple, but makes you understand that it's not only a technological matter. All the company should think about deployment pipeline, marketing, business, whatever you can think, because you change your development, your deployment pipeline because you need to change your product, not because you need to change from Vagrant to Docker, okay? Because it's the fashion of the moment. We evolve our application because the product needs to evolve, okay? And so, also the deployment pipeline changed. For example, this is just an example of deployment pipeline. Consider the first 3 blocks: product opportunity assessment, product discovery, product planning and estimation. Usually on that side there are not developer, or maybe just one, but it's done by business, marketing, I don't know what, and it took more or less, as I told you, it's an example, 18 days. Sorry, 20 days. And then you have development, final testing and approval, release on production. And look at this. 7 weeks for development. This is just an example, but to make you understand that development, obviously, for technological product, is the most important part of the product. But the product is not just this part, okay? In this part, we started with this. We started with, obviously, Vagrant, with machines and blah, blah, blah. But the pipeline doesn't terminate with development. The pipeline needs to reach a release. You need to release the product. So another very important thing I used to read on these 2 books I advise you is that you should keep your development environment as much similar as you can to the production one, because you're not working on your machines. Chris this morning told us that developers on Friday at 5 o'clock used to give me a tar file and then deploy. That's not the way we have to work. We have to work with ops. And the best thing we can do is to have coupled the environments, taking them as much similar as we can. Okay. This is really, really, really important. What we learn from that is that we need to make these environments really similar, and the product force us to change. Right now we have 2 we have 2 development environments. One big fat Vagrant that is at the moment really slim for developing the public web pages, and another environment with Docker container to develop our current application, which is right now in production. And we have a deployment pipeline, and we use some AWS tools to deploy the environment on production. We use AWS code pipeline, and we deploy them on ECS. We're not using Cube right now. At the moment, we don't need it. We are really coupled to Amazon in this moment, and our pipeline at the moment is that developers develop feature tickets, test them, merge on develop. During the merge, tests are re-executed again with a pre-git hook commit, and when the merge is done, a new hook will be invoked by the staging environment. We have staging environment too. The staging environment updates the codes, re-updates, drain the old containers and re-updates the new containers. And then, if all the tests on stage done by hand, by our product team, are okay, they tell us it's okay. And then we deploy on AWS ECS through AWS code pipeline. Okay, so what's your talk about? So what we have to do, which choice should we use? As I told you, it's the product that should drove you, okay? And the answer to this question, maybe you know the answer to this question. Do you know the answer to this question? What we have to do, which choice we have to take? I make the answer. The answer is from a very super smart guy. If you are a developer, you probably know him, which is Kent Beck. And Kent Beck, it's the one that wrote TDD and explained the first time TDD, test-driven development. But Kent Beck wrote also a super good book in 1999 that is called Extreme Programming. On that book, in 1999, it talks about continuous integration first, for the very first time. And this is the answer to this question from Ken Beck. It depends. It depends on your product. It depends how your product, how your product evolves during times. And you have to make a choice with, as a developer, with OPS, but also with the other parts of the company. It's not only your responsibility. Thank you.